How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the defense abilities that you have access to with a shield on RuneScape. We're going to go through pretty much all of the defense abilities on what they do and where they're useful. Now, I know a lot of you guys have asked for this in the comments of recent videos when I have mentioned it, so I wanted to make a video going over it for you all, as a lot of people who are getting into PVM really don't use defensive abilities, and it's a massive opportunity like missed. They're really, really good. In my opinion, these are probably the best abilities to really understand in the game, because they can save you in certain situations and they can definitely make your kills a lot easier and safer, and just basically save you a lot of food as well, which then translates into saving a lot of money, because Ceradim and brews at the moment, for example, are ridiculously expensive. So if you can reduce your food intake by either increasing your health with resonance or reducing damage with reflect, stuff like that, then hell, that's really, really useful. But anyway, we'll start off with the basic abilities and then we'll go through those, and then we'll talk about the thresholds, and then we'll talk about the ultimates. Let's get started. I hope this video helps you out. If it does, make sure to leave a like on the video. That way the video gets suggested to more people, and then we can maybe help out them as well. And also do subscribe if you are new. But anyway, let's get started. So what we're going to do is quickly go over what the abilities do, and then we'll talk about situations that they're useful in and why you'll want to use these abilities specifically. So the first one we'll start with is Anticipate. We'll also do Freedom in this same one, but they're very, very similar. So Anticipate is you will take 10% less damage while this is active, and you'll be immune to stuns as well, and it lasts 10.2 seconds. Basically, when you use Anticipate, any stuns that are thrown your way from bosses, anything that will keep you in place, anything that will root you or anything like that, you'll be 100% immune to it. It will not do anything to you. You'll still be able to move. This is ridiculously useful in so many situations. It works for places like Next when you get pulled around the room during phase 1. It works at Telos for hold still. Anything that stuns you, you're going to want to use Anticipate before it happens, and it basically just keeps you alive. You'll probably use this ability more than most abilities in high-end PVM for defense anyway. So when you use Anticipate, you'll get the 10-second buff, and then during that time, reduce damage, and you cannot be stunned. However, Freedom is very, very similar, but what it does is you can use this while you are stunned or while you are bound. So Freedom will break free from all that stops you. Basically, remove stuns and binds, clear damage over time effects, gain immunity to stuns and binds, and it lasts 6 seconds. So this is like a overpowered, strong Anticipate. So if you're already stunned, if you get stunned during a fight, you can use Freedom and you'll break free of that stun, and it'll allow you to move again. If you have a bleed effect on you, say for example at Araxor you have the melee Araxor that puts the bleed effect on you over time, if you use Freedom, you can actually get rid of that and clear it off. However, this is something that you probably want to save for sticky situations most of the time, because if you can use Anticipate before you get stunned, then absolutely use that. However, if you do get stunned and you have Freedom ready, you can fire that off and it'll allow you to move again straight away. So Anticipate and Freedom go pretty close together hand in hand, as they both give you the immunity to stuns for the 6 seconds or the 10 seconds. Both of them are used to avoid stuns. However, Freedom is used to avoid stuns and to clear them as well. It does also clear bleeds, so keep that in mind as well, as a lot of situations you'll be able to use that to your advantage too. Okay, so the next two abilities that I'm going to mention are going to be really, really quick, because you won't use them in a whole lot of situations. One you'll use more than the other, but it's not too important to know. So the first one is going to be Bash. You'll probably rarely use this. Like, I don't think I've ever used it. In all honesty, I don't really think I've used it anywhere. It just does damage. Its basic ability, basically, if you're using a shield, you can use this ability and it will do damage to something, depending on your armor and depending on your shield level as well. It's not really worth using, as most abilities that you do have will be better than this, so you probably don't need to worry about this one whatsoever. The next one is Provoke, and this will force a target that you use it on to attack you. So if you're tanking somewhere like Raksha, for example, if your duo partner takes the aggro because they attack first, and you want to be tanking, you can use Provoke, and that will pull the target's aggro onto you, and it'll keep them onto you unless the other person provokes back, or unless they have something like Insight on and you don't. Provoke is really useful at places like Calfight King for dealing with mechanics there, and again, it's just basically for aggression switch. You're not going to want to really use this many other places, especially if you're solo. There's not really any reason to use this. You can use it at places like Araxor during the web rotation to actually increase your adrenaline, as it does give adrenaline, but otherwise it's just to pull the aggro from the boss. Alright, so we're on Resonance. This is probably one of the best abilities, honestly. This is probably one of the best abilities in here. The most enjoyable one and the most useful one in certain situations. So Resonance will take the next damage that you're going to take and turn it into a heal. There's some situations where it won't do that, but we'll talk about that very, very soon. So basically, as long as you have your shield on or a defender, you'll be able to turn your next incoming damage into a heal for yourself, reducing the need for food and making sure that some bosses can be absolutely done without food altogether. Now, how does it work? You will literally have to have your shield on, press the ability, and then as soon as you've used it, any incoming attack after that heals you instead of doing damage. Nice and easy, super easy to understand, and that's pretty much it. So, for example, if you are going through a fight at Araxor and it is high in rage, you can either use a res on the web, so when he does the web, you can use Resonance and then attack the web, and rather than the reflect damage doing a frick ton of damage to you, it can actually heal you quite a lot as well. Or you can basically just use Resonance, turn off your prayer, take one hit from the boss, and that will heal you as well. This allows places like Telos to be done on no food because of the hold still that he does through phases 1 till 4. The hold still can be a full heal from nearly dead all the way to full health if you res the big hit after the hold still. This can also be really, really useful in other situations because it reduces massive attacks that are typeless usually down to no damage whatsoever. And another good example is Telos' so much power. If you use Resonance on the so much power, it will actually reduce the damage that it does from ridiculously amounts of damage down to a 0. It won't be a heal, like you won't get a massive heal from it, but it will change it from killing you down to doing no damage whatsoever, and it's just a basic ability cooldown. It's really, really useful, and I recommend that you guys get used to using a Resonance switch because high level PVM, you'll be using a Resonance switch a lot. And also, the situations where I have been doing a boss and I've been running out of food, and a Resonance switch is what has got me through and made sure I get that kill without having to bank and try again. The next ability that we're going to be talking about is Preparation. This basically just goes hand in hand with Resonance. It also does Divert as well, but honestly, we're just going to be talking about its use for Resonance because you probably won't use it for anything else. So, once you've used Resonance, you can use Preparation straight afterwards if you feel like you need to, and once you use it, to every attack that you take, you will be reducing the cooldown of Resonance. That's pretty much how it works. That's all it does. So, remaining cooldown of Resonance and Divert are reduced by 3 seconds for every attack received. So, say you've just used Resonance to res a hit from Araxor, and then you use Preparation straight afterwards. Every time you get hit, that will reduce this cooldown by 3 seconds, meaning you can use Resonance again very, very early. So that's it for all the basic abilities, so we'll move on to the thresholds. With these we have Reflect, Devotion, Revenge, and Debilitate. So there's only 4 of them, but all of these are actually really, really useful. So we'll talk about them and we'll let you know where they're really, really useful and how they work. So we'll start off by talking about Devotion, and we'll just go and get some adrenaline. Not that it matters too much, but we'll get some adrenaline and we'll talk about Devotion then. Now, what this does is when you have any overhead prayers active, so that means your magic protection or reflect, your melee protection or reflect, and your range protection or reflect. Whenever these are active, if you use Devotion, they become 100% active. Whenever you get hit by melee now, you will take no damage at all, and the same goes with magic, and the same goes with range. Now, this is really, really useful because in certain situations where you want to reduce a lot of damage, say for example at Araxi on the last phase when she is switching between magic and range, or even magic and melee if you're in melee distance, you can use this to reduce the amount of damage you take by, well, 100%. It literally is a lifesaver. You'll be able to put on Devotion and then flick between these styles as they hit you. It will just mean that any attacks that she does will do 0 damage, and it keeps you nice and safe and nice and healthy. Devotion has another thing to it where if you kill anything, then the timer is extended. So killing an enemy extends the duration by 4.8 seconds up to a maximum of 19.2 seconds. Normally it lasts 9.6 or 10 seconds. Killing off things like these spider minions in Path 1 at Araxor, if you use Devotion and kill these off, you'll easily be able to get a full duration Devotion there as well. But Devotion also has uses in other places. For example, at Calfight King, his insta-kill attack is actually a melee style attack. It's really, really useful to understand how Devotion works, as you'll be using this a hell of a lot in a lot of situations. It is a lifesaver. It is something that will save you an absolute ton of food and make sure that you can get through boss fights without using any food whatsoever in some situations. And in other situations, it can literally save your life by just reducing anything that will kill you down to nothing at all. Reflect is the next ability to talk about. So what this does is, in fact, like super easy to understand. It really is so easy to use. Now, if you take any damage at all, when you have Reflect active, it will reduce that damage by 50%. That is a lot. That is really, really good. And it works on typeless damage as well. Now, by typeless damage, I mean the rocks at Raksha when they fall, I mean the font at Telos, and pretty much all damage that you take will be reduced by 50%. It is really, really, really good. However, it also has a secondary effect, which will reflect that damage that you reduced back to the person who dealt the damage to you. So you can use this in certain situations to get a little bit more damage sent back to the boss, but usually the main reason for using this will be for the reduced damage. Keep in mind though that the Reflect is a thing and it does return the damage to someone, so it is actually quite useful in some situations, but like I say, most of the time you're going to be doing this just to reduce the damage. But Reflect can be used in really good situations. Like I said, at Raksha, when the rocks are falling, if you want to use Reflect, it will basically mean that those rocks will hit you for 1,500 rather than 3,000. I don't know the exact numbers, but around about that. And it just means that you can either just stand there and tank them, or if you do get hit by them, the chances of them actually killing you off is a lot lower than if you didn't use Reflect. Next up, we're talking about Debilitate. This is very similar to Reflect in the way that it will reduce the damage you take by 50%. However, Reflect is something that any source of damage that is coming towards you, you'll be able to reduce by 50% no matter where it comes from. However, with Debilitate, it only applies to the target that you use Debilitate on. So if you are versing a boss that has minions, for example, if you use Debilitate on the boss, you will only reduce damage from the boss and not the minions. So it is still useful. It is really, really useful in certain situations. You do not need to have a shield on to use Debilitate. You can either have one on, which will increase the duration of that, or if you don't have it on, you will just have 7.8 seconds. So without a shield, 7.8 seconds is how long Debilitate will last, and with a shield it can go up to 13.8 depending on the level of your shield equipped. I use this at Raksha. When the rocks start falling, just before the first one lands on me, I will use Debilitate, and then I just honestly just tank the rocks because I just can't bother trying to dodge them all. You can try and dodge them, but I just Debilitate and tank them all and keep DPSing. This is something that, as a beginner PVMer, you can probably just fire off throughout certain boss fights. For example, Araxi or Nex, you can just fire these off randomly whenever it's off cooldown, and it will reduce the damage you take throughout the whole fight whenever it's active, and which will save you a lot of food, and it will also save you a lot of money in the long run, and it'll just keep your kills nice and smooth as you're taking a lot less damage. The next ability is going to be Revenge, so while we just absolutely burn the crap out of this dummy, we're going to talk about that, and I'll be able to use it and show you what it looks like and then explain how it works. So this is a really cool ability. When you have a shield equipped, you can use this, and each attack that you get taken to you, so each attack dealt to you, increases your max damage by 10%, and it can stack 10 times. So overall, if it stacks 10 times, you can get a 100% increase to your damage. Now, this lasts for 19.2 seconds, and basically you want to use this in places where you want to camp your shield, or you want to use Reflect, but also still deal a decent amount of damage. One place I can think of that this is really, really useful is at Telos. So example, you have the Golem smacking on you, and you have Telos hitting you, and you're in phase 5. You want to use Reflect and Revenge. So if you use Reflect for the rocks and to reduce your damage taken, then you also can use Revenge to stack up those stacks and make sure that you can camp your shield and still do a lot of damage. So this is a really, really useful ability. It was fairly sort of specific in the places you're going to be using it, but when you do get used to using this ability, there is definitely some situations where it will help. Alright, so that's all the thresholds done. Time to talk about the ultimates. We have Rejuvenate, Immortality, Barricade, and Natural Instinct. These are all very, very useful. In fact, maybe not so much Rejuvenate, but early on you may want to use this at some point, but we'll get talking about those now, and these are actually pretty damn useful. We'll start off by talking about Rejuvenate, as this is the one you'll use the least probably. If you have a shield equipped, you can restore 2.5% of your life points every 0.6 seconds. It will heal you a lot over a certain amount of time. However, it will also restore all your drain stats. So if you say had reduced combat stats and you use this, it will restore those as well. This is kind of useful as a lower level PVMer maybe, if you're wanting to use this to sort of recover some health between boss fights maybe, but otherwise I can't really see much other use for it, as it does share a cooldown with the enhanced Excalibur. So once you use this, Rejuvenate will go on cooldown, you will not be able to use it, and the Excalibur is definitely a lot better as it doesn't cost any adrenaline, and it pretty much does the same thing, but doesn't cost any adrenaline. The next one I'm going to talk about is Immortality. This is really good. What it'll do is reduce all damage taken by 25% for 30 seconds. But if you die during that, you come back to life with 40% of your max health. For example, Telos, in the last phase, he has an insta-kill mechanic, and you can't do anything about it except for the fonts. If you don't want to do the fonts, you can use Immortality for the first time, and when he does the insta-kill, as long as you have Immortality on, it will still apply the insta-kill to you, but you come back obviously with 40% health. This literally makes phase 5 in Telos so much easier than having to font the first lot of golems, so it's a super good ability. I can't stress enough how good this ability is. It is 100% worth keeping your mind on in situations where you may be just about to run out of food, but the boss is so close to dead and you don't want to have to bank and start again. You can definitely put this on and it will definitely almost every time get you through that kill. The next one is something you will be using probably the most. This is probably the most used ultimate ability for defense, and it is Barricade. Now, Barricade is basically you take no damage. You don't take any damage at all. It is really, really, really good. Once you use this, like I say, any damage you take will be returned to nothing at all, and it actually works on some things that are typeless damage as well, or even some insta-kill mechanics. For example, at Araxor, you have the insta-kill spider that he summons, and it will crawl towards you, and if it hits you, you pretty much die. You can use Barricade for this, and if the spider hits you when you're barricaded, you will take no damage, you won't die, the spider will just disappear and do nothing to you. Now, this is really useful in a hell of a lot of situations where you need to tank, and you can increase the duration of this by having turtling on your shield. I only have turtling 3, you can have turtling 4, which increases it even more, but having turtling on your shield is absolutely worth having because you will be using Barricade a lot in a lot of situations. The last ability that we want to talk about for defense is Natural Instinct. This is another one that you don't need a shield for, but again, it will still cost you 100% adrenaline. This is something that's used in very specific situations again, and you probably won't be using it a whole lot early on, but at some point during endgame PVM, you will definitely be using this in part of your rotation. So what does it do? If you use Natural Instinct, it will take away 100% of your adrenaline, but you will gain your adrenaline 100% faster. So the way this works is I will use it now, and then you will gain your adrenaline back 100% faster. Look how fast my adrenaline is going up super quick. What you can do with this is get yourself back to 100%, use Sunshine, and then keep building as you still have time on your Natural Instinct. Now look how fast my adrenaline's going up, and look how fast I can use thresholds. If you pair that with a adrenaline renewal or adrenaline potion or something like that, you can start firing off your thresholds super fast. It can allow you to get more thresholds off during the Sunshine, as you can threshold pretty much straight away, and it definitely is something that you will be using towards endgame PVM. You'll be using this during places like Solak, possibly at Telos if you want to use it in the adrenaline beam. The beam will give you increased adrenaline as well, so keep this in mind. Is definitely some places you can use it, and it can help increase your DPS a hell of a lot. But it is fairly situational where you will be using this. Normally, you'll just use your Sunshine with your Ring of Vigor and build from there. But yeah, Natural Instinct will give you 100% increase on your adrenaline gain and can allow you to get Sunshine down and threshold very, very quickly. Anyway, that is going to be the end of the defense abilities because there is no more left to talk about. That is all of them. We've covered them all, and I really hope that you have had some useful information from this. If you didn't use adrenaline abilities in the past, I hope that you start using them now, as I personally think that they are some of the best abilities in the game. They save you food, they save you money, they make your life a hell of a lot less stressful during bossing. You should definitely be using them, and especially the ones like Resonance and Barricade, things like that. 100% get on those and make sure to use them. Find yourself some nice keybinds, and you will thank yourself that you did it later on. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, if it helped you out, leave a like on it, and also if you are new to the channel, then do subscribe as well. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today, so thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you later, guys.